What if I told you that Jesus already revealed the exact moment when the church would wake up to the shock of the tribulation? And what if I told you it's got nothing to do with a secret escape, but everything to do with a midnight cry tied directly to Jewish wedding customs? His disciples would have understood these instantly. Let's dive in. In the first century, Jewish weddings unfolded in stages. First came the betrothal, a covenant binding the bride and groom. That's the moment church entered into with Christ through his blood. Then the groom left his bride's home and returned to his father's house to prepare a dwelling place for her. Doesn't that sound familiar? It's exactly what Jesus promised in John 14. I go to prepare a place for you. While the groom prepared, the bride waited. She stayed faithful, she stayed pure, and she stayed ready, because she never knew the day or hour when her groom would return. That's the picture Jesus paints again and again. Stay awake, be ready, you don't know the hour. And here's the parable of the 10 virgins where it really comes into play. Matthew 25:5 says, as the bridegroom was delayed, they all became drowsy and slept. That's the church age, the long wait. Everyone, even the faithful, grows weary. But then at midnight everything changes. Verse 6, but at midnight there was a cry, here is the bridegroom, come out to meet him. This is the shock, that cry that jolts the church awake. The bridesmaids scramble to trim their lamps, and suddenly the division is revealed. Some have oil and some don't. The prepared are ready, and the unprepared are not. Jesus tells us what this cry will look like in real history. In Matthew 24:15, he says, so when you see the prophetic sign spoken of by the prophet Daniel standing in the holy place, that's the dividing line, the midnight cry that reveals who truly has oil and who doesn't. This is why the pre-tribulation theory collapses, among many other reasons. In Jewish weddings, the bride didn't vanish before midnight. She endured the wait. She was startled awake by the cry, and only then did the procession begin. If the church were secretly taken years earlier, this parable makes no sense. There's no delay, there's no need for oil, there's no cry at midnight. It doesn't seem there is a midnight because this parable doesn't exist if you're pre-tribulation. But Jesus made those elements central to his teaching because his church would face them. And think about this. Jesus paints the split as 50-50. Half prepared, half unprepared. But I think we all know that's a pretty generous number. There's not going to be a large number of the church raptured. In Matthew 7, he says the road to destruction is wide and many find it, but the road to life is narrow and few find it. Revelation 3:3 warns that if the church won't wake up, he'll come like a thief, and they won't know the hour. Luke 21:34 says the cares of life will weigh people down until the day springs like a trap. In other words, even among those who call themselves Christians, only the truly prepared will be a fraction. This prophetic sign is the dividing line, the midnight cry that reveals who has oil and who doesn't, the revealing of the man of lawlessness. The prepared will recognize it instantly. They'll know Jesus' words are being fulfilled, but the unprepared will scramble, confused, caught off guard, and spiritually empty. And this is why Jesus warns so heavily, because much of the church is and will be asleep, lulled into false security, clinging to man-made teachings that say they won't face tribulation. But the parable, the wedding customs, the warnings of Matthew 24, Daniel, and Thessalonians, as well as Revelation, all say the same thing. The bride must endure, and she must be ready, and she must be awake when the cry goes out. So the question isn't whether you've heard of the midnight cry. The question is whether you'll be ready when it comes. Oil in your lamp doesn't come from a theory or a timetable. It comes from the Spirit of God, from endurance in His Word, from living faithfully when the world is asleep. Most of the church will miss it. Jesus said that. But He also promised that those who endure to the end will be saved. Friends, please stay awake, keep watch, trim your lamps now before the cry rings out, because you know we aren't far away. And when it does, there won't be time to go searching for oil. And if this opened your eyes to something you didn't see before, please don't just scroll away. Like the video and share it with someone who needs to hear it. And drop your comment below with your thoughts. Let's keep this conversation alive while we still can. And God bless y'all and your families in these United States. Shalom, shalom, brothers and sisters. Maranatha.